but we laugh.
Well, thanks to your fantastic leadership, this amazing cabinet, and the very talented DOGE team, I'm excited to announce that we anticipate savings in FY26 from reduction of waste and fraud by $150 billion. And I mean, and some of it is just absurd, like people getting unemployment insurance who haven't been born yet. I mean, I think anyone can appreciate whether, I mean, come on, that's just crazy. You know, some of these things, people ask me like, well, how are you going to find waste and fraud in the government? I'm like, well, actually just go in any direction. That's how you find it. It's very common. it's as the military would say, target-rich environment. So I think we're doing a lot of good in excellent collaboration with the cabinet to achieve these savings. And it will actually result in better services for the American people, and that we're going to be spending their tax dollars in a way that is sensible and fair and good.
And your people are fantastic. In fact, hopefully they'll stay around for the long haul. We'd like to keep as many as we can. They're great, smart, sharp, right? Finding things that nobody would have thought of.
Making America great again. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm Austin Peterson. Wake up, America. It's time to rise and freedom. Fridays are a very special day on our 5-day-a-week live podcast. Why are Fridays special? It's because I bring my smoking hot, redheaded libertarian wifey, Stephanie, on the show. What's up?
Hello. I am awake. I would say I have been awake since about 2 a.m.
Yes, you have. Because that sweet little baby girl, you know.
And then you woke up around 3-something. Yeah. So then we've just all been up since then.
We've been up and we're ready to rock and roll and we're ready to entertain. And we have 2 shows today.
Yeah, you actually had 3 shows today. You had one this morning on Fox News Channel, Fox and Friends First.
Exciting, right?
And now we have Wake Up America show podcast, which was advertised on Fox News. Awesome. So hello to any new viewers out there who are coming in for the very first time.
Yeah, I'm Austin. This is Stephanie. And we have a sweet little baby girl, Hazel. You might be able to see her little faded out picture of her back here. I'll pull it up. We're talking about apparently unemployment for toddlers, right? 1 to 5-year-old. She's not quite a toddler yet, but she's about ready to have her first birthday.
Yeah, but she's almost 9 months old this coming week.
If she wakes up, then we've got the little carrier there.
A new bassinet. It's a portable one. I'm going to be bringing it to Washington, D.C. with us, actually, so that she can sleep in it.
Because we're getting ready to hang out with all of our crew in Washington, almost all of our crew in Washington, D.C., and for the AP DC Liberty Tour, upcoming May 1st through the 3rd. And then the third show we're doing today, the Freedom Arcade. Right here on Rumble, it's our exclusive premium members-only content. And that's going to be 9 p.m. Central tonight. It's going to be an absolute blast. Make sure you are subscribed. Click the follow button so you get updates whenever we go live here on the Wake Up America show. There you go. You have to let it focus. There you go. Nice. Yeah, but you have to put it in front of your face because it's like... It'll focus on the faces on the screen. There it is. Oh,
you can see my eyes in there.
Yeah,
the little Asian eyes.
Yeah, I love it. Beautiful. Well, Freedom Family Friday. It was perfect topic to go on Fox to discuss today, which is this conversation about the Department of Government Efficiency. Which let's give it up for Elon Musk and DOGE. This is like the libertarian dream, right? The idea that there is inefficiency, like Elon said, fire in all directions. It's everywhere you look, you find it.
That's right.
But the latest outrage, of course, is that apparently unemployment. So I knew it was going out for people who were old, like Revolutionary War veteran age, as old as this country.
My mom had texted me yesterday. She's like, they've been giving unemployment to dead people for a long time. And it's like, well, it's more than just dead people now. It's young people also are getting unemployment.
Yeah, it was dead people getting unemployment. Right? It was people who were now, we learned today, 1 to 5 years old. But then I guess also I just heard Elon say people who hadn't even been born. So I guess people must have registered their pregnant child's name.
That's so
for
weird.
Unemployment. Because how do you think that you would do something like that. You're looking for a way to game the system. You're like, well, by the time they get around to figuring out that they haven't been born yet or that they're a child, that person will then exist. And then we can just use their real name and birth certificate and all that kind of stuff. I mean, how terrible would you have to be to do that to your future child? Terrible.
I just don't know how it would even be allowed to be submitted on the form, because you'd have to put your child's birth date. And so you probably put a fake birth date, right?
Yeah.
And how do you give a social security number? I guess you actually use your child's social security number. It's just so hard to believe that this can actually go through.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. It's not going to go through because Elon and Trump are going to take care of it. Now, if Congress would just get their act together and pass some legislation that actually pushes this through, we'd be doing well. And I think the thing that people found more interesting than just the news story was the historical anecdote about Chester Arthur and his civil service reform, which is a really important part of history. I mean, we're going to play the clip here in just a moment.
Drew Van Runkle said, he's like, I haven't watched it on my DVR yet. Do not worry. We have the clip. Thanks to Justin Peterson, who's also going to be on the show today.
Justin uploaded the clip. Thanks, Justin. And Justin's going to be on the show.
Yes. So it's wins all around today, and in general this week, we've got a lot of wonderful blessings in our life coming along the pipeline.
We had some sour luck there for a few days, and then
I had food poisoning from Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah, we
were just down.
We were feeling depressed.
Yeah.
I was having some problems. And then all of a sudden. Aces. We just kept pulling ace cards this week, and it's just been a beautiful thing to see. We've got so much wonderful news to share with people. We've got Freedom Family Friday is a little bit more loose. We do talk about the news, and usually the show is very news focused and interview focused. But Friday's the day we try to let our hair, or at least what's left of it, down, and have a blast, hang out with our friends, chit chat with the chat, and. Quest Fanning dropped a Rumble rant already. He wants to see that bonus content, doesn't he?
Quest has been very giving. I was actually in the Liberty Tonight chat last night, and Quest was in there gifting subs, sending rants.
Where would we be without him?
He's just a powerhouse. So thank you, Quest.
He sure is. And T Mill 22, we actually spoke to her yesterday. She's gonna help us out with a little donation to help support the documentary, and we're grateful for that.
And if anybody else out there wants to help support our documentary, we're continuing to look for people to help sponsor meals for all of our actors and all of the crew that you're bringing on for the documentary. So if anybody would like to help, go to wakeupamericashow.com/support, and your money will absolutely go towards the documentary that is being filmed in mid-June, June 19, 2021.
Yeah, we're basically building a small army and then having them go to war, essentially. So we're going to have a historical reenactment of the Battle of Athens, which is going to be a 3-day documentary shoot. We've already done some filming from Athens, Tennessee, where the McMinn County War, as they also called it, went down.
Yeah, and we had originally got donations for that, so thank you to those of you who donated so that we could go to Tennessee and do that first round of shooting.
Yeah, we've been crowdsourcing this documentary. We've had angel donors, investors, but it costs about $800 a day to feed that many people, of what we find out, the most low budget, efficient way to do it. So if there's anybody out there who wants to help support the documentary and help us to tell this incredible story about World War II veterans who came back from the front only to find that they had to fight for freedom right back here. It's the story of the last successful armed rebellion in the United States' history. Happened in 1946 in Athens, Tennessee, and Stephanie and I are telling that story. So if you'd like to be involved with that, or if you know anyone who can help supply us, if you've got access.
Yeah, if you're a caterer or chef. I know we have some people actually in our group who are chefs. I know one of our subscribers is.
Yes, but if you can't do something like that, something practical, then of course, if you could send us some money to help support that. Where can you do that? Well, it's easy. All you have to do is go to our show website, wakeupamericashow.com/support. And when you do that, if you go to wakeupamericashow.com/support, you'll see that there's a donation tab at the front. You can make a one-time donation, and all the donations that do come in this morning will go towards unlocking the bonus content. So once we hit $75 raised, that'll unlock our little mini documentary that we have here in the on the show. We've already raised $10 so far, so it should be really easy for us to hit 65 by the end of the show. Rumble Rants also support us and go to help us to spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. And, so that we can have more time to do things like hit up Fox News and do Freedom Arcade, video game hangouts.
And tomorrow we have a very exciting event as well.
Do we? I've already forgot.
Yes, in St. Louis. We're going to YaleCon.
Oh, that's
You're going to
right.
be a speaker on the main stage.
Stephanie, if I didn't have Stephanie.
Your calendar is my calendar.
I know.
Yes. So we were invited, actually, or you were invited to go to YaleCon in St. Louis this year, and
Yeah.
you're going to be one of their featured speakers.
Yeah, I'm on the main stage on
Yes.
Saturday night, 7:30 p.m. Central Time.
That's right. So we'll all be there. I'll be there with baby Hazel. Hopefully she'll be nice and quiet so we can listen to you speak.
Yeah, exactly. So Will Run Riot, he's out of Springfield. He says, I was literally just wondering what I'd have to swing to do craft services for you guys. Oh, yeah. He runs the food trucks down in Springfield.
Yes.
How cool
that's
would
right.
that be, right?
Super cool. Drive your truck down to Boonville.
Do it, Will. Let's do it. Do it, Will. Will. Riot.
Yeah, we're
Riot.
filming in Boonville, for those of you who don't know.
It's Will or Riot. Will or Riot. Will or Riot. Yes. Okay. Well, we'd be glad to have all your support, of course. And just clicking the like button, of course, is fantastic, too. You can text the show and let us know what's on your mind. You see that phone number at the bottom of the screen? Oh, well, you're listening to the audio podcast. That's okay. I'll just read it out loud. 573-319-1586 is the text line. That's 573-319-1586. Program that into your phone. Just make it say AP or Austin and Stephanie or Wake Up America or whatever. So you can just text me anytime you like. Again, 573-319-1586 is that text line. Brad Beckman and Will Run Riot grab each other in the chat. Brad's the associate producer. Will's the food truck operator. Brad and Will, you guys trade information.
Is he going to do it?
He's thinking about it. He's still thinking about it.
That's cool.
And Robbie's out there trying to get us a Tommy gun for the shoot.
Oh, my goodness.
Because they did, in fact, have a Tommy gun that they got from the armory. So.
Oh, Robbie, you truly are a
amazing.
magician with guns.
Oh, yes. Oh, yeah, he is. Don't mess with Robbie. All right. And don't mess with Elon and DOGE as the Department of Government Efficiency has been on the warpath going after the spending that the Democrats just don't want to talk about.
Austin Peterson is the host of Wake Up America and a former libertarian presidential candidate. He joins me now. Austin, we'll get to the Hegseth stuff in a second, but let's start off with some of the items DOGE has revealed. Unemployment insurance claims since the pandemic, 2020. Nearly 25,000 people over 115 years old claimed $59 million in benefits. 28,000 people between the ages of 1 and 5 claimed $254 million in benefits. And 10,000 people who have not even been born yet claimed $69 million
Crazy.
in benefits. One,
Over
with a
15 years
birthday
in the
coming up in
future.
2154, we're buying the candles now. Carly and I claimed over $40,000. Look, Austin, you and I both have toddlers. Who knew they could produce a cash flow like this?
Yeah, no kidding, right? I thought that my child tax credit this year was the best I was going to get when it came to my income
Look at that
taxes.
Jeffersonian Java up there in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah, baby.
Honestly, I got to say, good morning, Todd, and thanks for having me, guys, and I'm glad to be here. I'm honestly, as a new dad, thrilled that my diaper budget isn't going to rely on unemployment checks. This is $254 million paid to kids aged 1 to 5. I think parents, especially parents out here in the heart of America, Jefferson City, Missouri, beautiful God's country out here, we're all cheering the Department of Government Efficiency on. Every time we see Elon in the news, we love to do the Elon jump, right? But the only benefits that my kids need are a bottle and a nap, to be quite honest, Todd.
But
Yay! Oh, but it kept going.
It
kept
did, but
going.
let's react. Let's react, right?
Oh,
I
this
I
is
want to-
great.
yeah, because so the Department of Government Efficiency, they're spending out all these benefits and stuff, but the child tax credit is great, but we want the savings. We want the savings from the government spending cuts from all this waste fraud. We want these savings to come back to the taxpayer. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
All of this, every time they spend money, that's a tax on us, Milton Friedman said. Every spending increase is a tax increase down the road. So listen, do we want tax cuts? Yes, absolutely. Are we gonna take our child tax credit on our income taxes? Absolutely, right? We're not going to fight too hard against them increasing that if they do. Everybody else is on the
I do take
but,
what I can get from the government nowadays because I have paid my fair share, I feel.
Yeah, well, it's just your money. You getting your money back,
Yes.
right? It's kind of like Social Security. You stole it from me in the first place, right? So, but the question about all of this fraud, it's amazing. This is just the tip of the iceberg. The tip of the iceberg of the ridiculousness, because a lot of times what will happen is that when you talk about government waste, you'll have like Rand Paul will do like his Festivus government waste reports he does once a year on Festivus before Christmas.
Yep.
And it'll be stuff where it'll be like, a shrimp on cocaine running on a treadmill, right? And then you'll have some snooty scientist, and there's this big conversation on the internet right now about like experts and trusting the experts. But you'll have all of these snooty, like usually lefty science types, the types who love, Anthony Fauci, right? Mr. Fauci, right? These people will usually go in and defend that spending. They will defend the shrimp running on the treadmill, and they'll say, well, this is valuable research, and this kind of research, needs to be funded by grants and things so they'll argue in favor of what libertarians like Rand Paul and ourselves and others would say, well, this is waste, right? But the left will say, well, no, this is necessary scientific research. Well, if it's necessary, do it in the private market or fund it yourself, or do it at a university. You don't have to do it on my tax dollars. But there's no arguing that unemployment benefits paid out to pre-born people is obviously waste, fraud, and abuse. So,
I would really want to see a Democrat who disagrees with that. I bet there is one out there somewhere.
They'll do it. They'll find it.
Because they'll probably be like, this is the problem. The single mothers, they're struggling so much. They need more money.
Yeah.
This is why they're stooping to these levels.
Drew Van Runkle says, whoa, sign me up for Coke shrimp. Okay, fair points. Might be good. If you're on vacation.
So much for coconut shrimp, right? There's really another kind of
coconut shrimp.
in there.
Stephanie.
Yeah. I'm clean. Don't y'all worry.
At least somebody is.
Yes.
Hey, we got to talk about our friends over there, Cliff Maloney and Remzo Martinez and the whole team over at the PA Chase program. If you're ready to take control of our elections at the local level, I wanted to introduce to you this new bold initiative from our friends at the Citizens Alliance of Pennsylvania and the Pennsylvania Chase program. It's called Joe 1000, and their mission is to elect 1,000 judges of elections across Pennsylvania in 2025 to ensure that elections are run with integrity, transparency, and accountability. So right now, in precincts across the Commonwealth, write-in campaigns are underway for America First Patriots to run for judges of elections across PA in 2025. They're running for judges of elections, and many of them have no opposition. That means just 10 write-in votes and a majority. You can help flip your precinct into a red stronghold. The PA Chase team is going to provide training, data, and support. You step up and run. It's that simple. If you want to learn more, visit teamcap.com/Joe. That's teamcap. That's CAP, teamcap.com/Joe to find out how to run, support a candidate, or get involved. And if you want to help all of us help us to win Pennsylvania again and build a red wall, head to pachase.com. That's pachase.com to support the ballot chasing efforts to keep the momentum going. This is your moment to take action. Sign up, run for judge of elections, and help us secure the future of our republic, one precinct at a time. Thank you to the PA Chase, Cliff Maloney, Remzo Martinez, the good people.
Oh, we love them so much.
They
truly, they work so hard for the cause.
Absolutely. And where would we be there would be no DOGE if it wasn't for PA Chase out there helping to win the elections for Trump.
That's right.
Not everybody is cheering. And let's focus on the Hegseth. Hegseth said $5.1 billion in DOD contracts are being terminated. If you go back, 10, 15, maybe even just 5 years ago, the left has always been a proponent of slashing the Department of Defense budget, saying it's too bloated. We don't want wars. Well, Hegseth is depleting the budget, slashing the budget, and yet when you combine that with the rage we see against Musk and DOGE, the left is continuing to protest this. So I'm curious as to your thoughts on this. Is this as simple as the left protesting just because it's connected to Donald Trump, or is it deeper than that? Is it because they and their donors stand to make money off of, or had been making money off of this, what I'm going to call grift, for decades?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think Elon Musk is absolutely correct that the reason why so many of these Democrats are fighting against this waste, fraud, and abuse is because the uncovering of the waste, fraud, and abuse is because I think many of them are on the take. He accused Chuck Schumer directly. And, you know, I think that when you look at the Pentagon and the Department of Defense, a lot of Republicans even have talked for years about reforming that institution. It's just that Trump is the only one who actually does it. And I love when Donald Trump talks about history, he likes to compare himself to President McKinley. But probably the best historical anecdote for what Trump and Elon Musk and Pete Hegseth are doing is the presidency of Chester A. Arthur, who enacted the Pendleton Civil Service reforms. And those historic reforms took a system that was built around cronyism and specifically changed the system so that it would be a merit-based system at the time. If you look at history, Chester A. Arthur and Donald Trump have so much in common that any of your...
Uh-oh.
Is that our internet?
It could be. Yeah, it's our internet. Of course. It's blasted down. Of course. And
Can they still see us?
I'm not entirely sure just yet. It looks like we're in the red.
Precedent that was set, because I think that what
my
DOGE is doing
Thank
is
God
even
that
bigger
didn't
than
happen on
that.
Fox News.
But there is historical precedent for that. But, you know, if the Democrats knew their history, they wouldn't be Democrats.
Congrats to you for being the first person on this program, I believe. You're the answer to the trivia question to mention Chester A. Arthur on our program. That's a...
Not bad. We lost them a little bit there on the feed, but now that they're back. Yeah, so I talked about Chester A. Arthur because...
That wasn't you that lost them.
No.
Oh, no.
This was us.
Oh,
just
okay.
now,
Yeah, I was
just
like,
now.
I didn't notice that you
they
went
were
away on Fox News.
No, I was fine this morning on Fox, but like we just had a little hiccup there. But here's the thing. So I was talking about Chester A. Arthur because I really love this history, because the Gilded Age is one of the least studied, I feel like, parts of American history, in that it really was a period of American greatness. The left demonizes the Gilded Age. They call it the age of robber barons. And they're calling now a new age of robber barons. Well, we would be so lucky as to live in the 1880s under the regulatory regime of the 1880s. This is a time when, yes, we had a gold standard, but also there were aspects of free banking in the United States, a libertarian paradise. This was the settling of the American West. We're talking about gold, guns, girls, and very little government. You know what I mean?
And God. That's the other
Absolutely.
G. Yes.
Well, and that's what makes America different. The qualities, the characteristics that make America great. The things that when people talk about making America great again, what I think about is America's experiment in anarcho-capitalism. And this is there's a great book you can read. It's for free. You can download, since we're talking about history, you can download this book. It's from the Mises Institute. It's called The Not So Wild West. Have I ever told you about this or talked to you about this at all? The Not So Wild West?
I don't think so.
Well, it talks about that period of settlements in the 1880s, when there were the Indian Wars, obviously, and the settlers were finally, the United States was really coming into its form of what it would be, in the early 1900s to today. Not quite 50 states yet, but getting there. And in this period when the cowboys in the West, it wasn't a gunfight. It wasn't like the movie Tombstone. There wasn't a shootout at the OK Corral every other weekend. It was actually a period of time of property rights. It's time when women started to own properties, and yes, they were bordellos, typically brothels. Yeah. But there were the common man had more rights because why? They had access to land. There was the gold rush of San Francisco, the purchase of Alaska. Seward's Folly, which was this time to be at the time when they purchased. This is why I don't like freak out when Trump talks about acquiring Greenland so much, right? Maybe not through military conquest, but they bought Alaska from Russia, and it turned out to be after that they had the Klondike Gold Rush, and so investments in the future, the greatness of America, it can be in many ways encapsulated in this concept of a cowboy form of conservatism. God, gold, guns, brothels.
Right.
and that's what makes us different from British conservatives, from Tories, from people who will claim the mantle of conservatism, but whose conservatism is alien to American traditions. And if I could use one word that would encapsulate it all, it's individualism.
Nice. Good one. That's a good one. Chester Arthur.
Chester A. Arthur. He enacted the Pendleton Civil Service reforms. He was notoriously corrupt before he got into office.
Because I was going to say, is he a libertarian president?
Well, one of the more libertarian presidents. Okay. Because what happened was that, and this is such a crazy story. So he was corrupt. He was very much a part of like the mafia at the time. They had these public like trading houses and power brokers in New York and Tammany Hall, and in Kansas City we had what eventually became the Pendergast cartels. And of course, in the 1940s they had the Battle of Athens was because of the cartels of the Cantrell House Cantrell in Tennessee.
Correct.
So these things, this kind of corruption, of course, is endemic in the United States from since time immemorial.
Yeah.
And Chester A. Arthur got elected on the backs of cronyism, on the backs of a system that was not based on merit. It was all who you know. It's all who favors get handed out to. Okay. So, but when Chester got in office, there was a story about a woman who wrote him a letter and said that she hopes that he finds this opportunity to be president to actually bring reform and to actually do good for the people of America. And it said that Chester was so touched, so enamored by this letter that he got from this woman that he decided to change his ways. And he actually, and John F. Kennedy did similar things, although he never he couldn't civil service reform. But Chester Arthur changed his ways and enacted civil service reform. It was a law called the Pendleton Act, and it reformed the bureaucracies. It reformed and made it so that it wasn't just about who you know. It was about the best person for the job. Sounds a lot like Department of Government Officials. Sounds a lot like Elon Musk stuff.
I was going to say sounds a lot like a good children's book with a nice lesson.
You know what? Chester A. Arthur.
That you can change.
Yes. Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, okay. We can write a book about him.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're working on another one right now, actually. Let's not talk too much about it. Don't talk about it, be about it.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, right? Don't talk about it, be about it. We're glad to have you here on the Wake Up America show. It's a beautiful morning. Jefferson City, Missouri. The sun's starting to come up. Spring is here. Easter's coming. Get out your Easter best. You get your Easter bonnet with all the frills upon it. Justin Peterson, our little Easter bunny, is going to be here today.
Yay!
In your Easter bonnet with all the frills upon it.
Oh my gosh, so much exciting news this week.
Oh my God, we had a crazy, crazy week, and I can't believe it. Sometimes I start to yesterday I actually came out to you and I said, Stephanie, pinch me.
I know, and I'm like, what's going on?
Pinch me. I can't believe it. Out of nowhere, they hit you up and they're like, hey, come on Fox News. And it's the opportunity of a lifetime.
Yes.
Obviously.
But nowadays with all the scammer emails, you never know if something's real or fake. So it's like you double check and you're like, wait a second. Is this real?
Exactly. I had to show her the email and be like, is this legit? Like, is this like one of these spam things or something? No, it was real. It was legit.
Because your dad was talking to us just last week saying that Elon Musk talks to him.
On Twitter. Yes. Maybe.
So it's like, these things happen where people think people are talking to them, but maybe they are.
Yes.
Maybe they're not.
Could be.
Yes.
Could be. Watch your Chester A. Arthur slander. Best person you can change. Thank you, Ike, for giving his shits.
Yes. Hello, Ike.
What's up, Ike? Don't forget, guys, to drop your Rumble rants and support the Wake Up America show with our bonus content program. We've got a mini documentary cooked up by the great Brad Beckman. BB for Liberty in the chat. BB, drop your Rumble rants today. Help support the Wake Up America show's bonus content. Everything that we don't put into our babies' diapering and milking, we put back into the fight for liberty. So
That's
it
right.
goes to a good cause. You don't have to just drop cash. You can also try a box of our delicious founding flavors coffee. Maybe we need a Chester.
I thought you were going to say you can drop poop after you drink coffee.
That's the benefit from working from home, is that you can poop at home alone. As a matter of fact, I've got another story about that in just a moment. But Jeffersonian Java is available exclusively at our For Liberty Shop merch store. And it's not just another coffee brand. It's a very special coffee brand. It is delicious. Our number one seller, others say, oh, well, coffee's delicious. Ours is, some other coffees might be premium, but ours is ultra premium. And the benefit of having a box of Founding Flavors coffee, and we have a whole variety of them. We've got Madisonian Morning. Is that?
And we got Franklin's Electric Elixir over here.
That's another top brand. Franklin's. You have to put it in front of your face so it can see him. There we go. Still not seeing him, but it's okay. There we go. Franklin's Electric Elixir. There he is signing the Declaration of Independence. The thing about our coffee that makes it so unique is it is absolutely delicious, ultra premium coffee at a little bit less price than some of the other ultra premiums and premiums.
That really looks like Monticello.
It does.
It's really nice.
It looks just like Monticello. And here's the thing.
I've been there. Thanks to you.
If you have all of these presidential boxes, you collect all of them from our shop. They're gorgeous displays.
They really are. This looks really nice.
Yes. So if they're sitting out there,
I'm
like
very impressed.
it's all the boxes are also collectible. So it's special. And thank you to Ike Giving a Shits. We appreciate you. Where can you get the boxes of coffee, Stephanie?
ForLibertyShop.com. And you can also get DOGE merchandise. We made some new Milton Friedman merchandise. It's a Tinstaffel.
Yeah, Tinstaffel.
Merchandise.
There ain't no such thing as a free lunch bag. Very good, Stephanie.
And T-shirt and mug. And we've got, oh my goodness, we've got so many new things. What else have we made?
Cecilia says less than 2 weeks for the trip. Yeah,
yes.
you can read more about that if you're on the shop at forlibertyshop.com.
Yeah, we've got DC Liberty Tour tickets at forlibertyshop.com if you're still wanting to join us for our tour May 1st through 3rd in DC. We also have our DC Liberty Tour t-shirts and merch packages for sale on forlibertyshop.com. We've got everything. We also have tea. So if you're not a coffee person, go to Drink for Liberty on our website.
Major moment. RFK Jr., meantime, his goal of making America healthy again, slashing unhealthy fats. That's obviously a pun over at HHS, writing in a New York Post op-ed quote, America spends more on health care than any other country in the world by a large margin. At HHS alone, we spend $1.7 trillion with a T dollars annually. Despite this extravagant spending, our country's health is declining. So do you think RFK Jr. can slash that and simultaneously improve health outcomes?
You love to see it. I mean, like, who doesn't love giving, every once in a while, give a sugary soda to your kids? But if you're on SNAP benefits, I don't think that it should be the taxpayer who should be paying for things like that. So I think RFK Jr. is on the right track. And speaking of historical presidents, of course, his uncle, John F. Kennedy, the president, enacted the presidential fitness test. And I'd love to see something like that across the country in our public schools, seeing more kids getting out there, being healthy. I'm a martial arts instructor. I can't wait until my little one's big enough to take classes with me and to get healthy. But it's nice to see that RFK Jr. is doing what he campaigned on, just like what Donald Trump is doing. They're doing exactly what they campaigned on. And I love to see that more Maha moms are looking at getting together, organizing across the country to make our kids healthy again. Because honestly, we've got an obesity epidemic in this country. We could all stand to cut back a little bit on those sugary drinks and sodas. I know that maybe the big soda lobbies won't like that. Right. But I think ultimately it's what's best for our kids and what's best for our country.
And I think we can all agree, motivated moms transcend party. It doesn't matter if you're red or blue. If you're a motivated mom, things get done. Austin Peterson, thank you for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Todd.
Now let's go to another motivated.
He was so nice to you.
Thank God I remembered that John F. Kennedy had the presidential fitness test. I was like, whew, man.
I know. I was like, wow, you really can think on the top of your head right there. I would have been like, I have no idea.
Yeah,
I would have blanked and just passed out.
I'm going to be real. I was kind of shaking a little bit. My legs are kind of like... You know what I mean? Because I was like, because I wasn't prepared for that topic. Because they were going to talk about DOGE and unemployment. And
they didn't even tell you about this one at all?
So here's the thing. So like 30 seconds before we went live, they sent me an email, topic change.
30 seconds?
And I was like, no. woo! And so I just rolled with it. I was like, Austin, you've run for president of the United States, dude. Just roll with the punches. Okay, just go.
Oh my goodness.
And so when they brought up Kennedy and Hegseth, I was like, all right, Austin. I was like, they can ask any questions that you want, but you just say what it is that you know and you believe, and let the chips fall where they may. And
what would have been like their producer or their director would have been like, keep going. This guy knows his stuff.
Yeah.
Come on, give him another topic.
Exactly. Well, they say action begets action. So I think there's a good chance they'll probably invite me back. That'd be
yes.
good. Yeah.
So please, if you're on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, please share out all of our posts to Fox and Friends First, because they notice us.
Yeah.
And so if they see that this video here is really popular and that we want more of it, then they're probably going to bring him back on again.
And I know this is a big ask, but you can do something small to take a minute out of your day to do something incredible for us. It can make a huge impact. If you contact the show, if you tweet at the show, and repost them and say, hey, we really loved having Austin on, please have him back. That could transform our lives. Like
absolutely.
It could change everything that we are doing here.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the more you're on Fox, the fact is just the more your star rises. And I get to talk about things that I love, history. We get to share the ideas that you and I share. You could do a lot of good potentially for our country just by sending a little email to a producer. Just a simple tweet, contacting someone saying, hey, listen, we love Austin. Please have him back,
Oh, absolutely. Because Fox News, they also want to get their message out there. And if they see that we're basically doing marketing for them.
Right.
And advertising for them, they're going to want more of us.
Some people,
we're an army of marketers.
And some people will be like, well, you used to work at Fox News, so why can't you just get on anytime you want? Because you're competing with the literal president of the United States, right? You're in competition with the biggest celebrities in the world, and
the most beautiful women in the world, right? Who typically get put on there.
Exactly,
yes.
exactly. So you have to understand that, a regular boy from Peculiar, Missouri doesn't come up on the radar very often. So it's a rare treat and a rare opportunity to be able to do that and to talk about things. And you know what, honestly, was the interesting thing, if you don't know the business, is that they introduced me as the podcast show host, as the Wake Up America show host.
Which is huge for our network. And even on their page on Twitter, they said, Wake Up America podcast.
Yes, and I'll tell you this, them doing that is a big deal, because it is typical that you do not advertise against yourself.
Yeah.
It's
another morning show yet, right?
Exactly.
You are competing with Fox and Friends right now. They are on right now.
Right. And so the fact that they would actually advertise me as the show host like that, it's a sign of respect, honestly, and honor. So I appreciate it. Thank you to all my friends at Fox. Whoever booked me there that did all that homework. We appreciate that very much.
Silent angel who's been watching us. Thank you.
Yeah. Probably my mom, because we went and visited her grave last week.
That's what I said. Yes, Hazel, me, your dad, Mario. We all went to go visit your mom. And I don't know. I mean, hopefully she is watching over us. And even your pastor reached out to you. I mean, we just really are feeling.
It's funny how people
feeling this today.
It's funny how much people from your past life reach out to you when they see you on television.
Absolutely. Yeah. Why do you have other people reaching out?
No, yeah, well, yeah. Yes, actually, yes. Yeah, I do. It's interesting who does. I'll tell you a little bit more about some of the other ones later.
Oh, okay.
That we don't necessarily want to talk about on air. But
it's like how you've always said. It's interesting who asks you for favors once you're actually getting big.
Yep.
Because they come back to you and are like, oh, actually, I want to be nice to you now that you're in the spotlight.
It's always that way. It's always that way. It's never going to change. It's just human nature. It's the nature of the beast. And I've lived a very blessed life. Right? I've done it almost everything. I
would say you've done more than I want to do in my life.
You want to do, right? I still have dreams. I still have things I want to.
You still want more. I'm like, I've done all I need.
No, I've got a bucket list, baby. But maybe it's just that ambition that I've always had. But I feel very blessed to have what I have. And somebody was saying this morning. They were talking about working from home. People who are entrepreneurs. And he was talking about people would make more money if they worked for someone else. And if they worked for someone else, most entrepreneurs would make more money. This is what he said.
They would make less money, right?
entrepreneurs would make less money working for themselves than they would if they worked for someone else. Meaning, what would I make, for example, if I wasn't doing this, running this network, right?
Right. If you worked for Fox News right now, it's like,
would I make more money? Maybe, right? It's possible, but there's what is seen, and then there is what is unseen. Yes. So here it is. Here's his opinion. Unpopular opinion, writes Trenton Hughes. Majority of entrepreneurs make less money than they would if they were an employee. Maybe true in my case, but here's what I posted. I said that it would take an obscene amount of money to get me out of my house where I work, spend all day with my wife and child and dogs, to go commute, and spend all day and work for someone else in an office. I get to go for walks, eat healthy food from my fridge or unhealthy food, take breaks, kiss my baby, refresh the missus. Oh, yeah. But most importantly...
You give me lots of water. Yes. Thank you.
Most importantly, though, poop in privacy. Some things money can't buy, And I look at it as a time thing. I'm trying to run out the clock on life. Every year I manage to make it on my own as a free man, take care of the family and make things happen. It's a precious gift, right? It's all what it's all about. So it's a beautiful thing, right? Working from home, being able to be your own free boss, your own man.
You can't put a value on that.
You can. Probably about $75,000 to $150,000 more a year would get me out of there. So.
I guess you can put a value on that.
Yeah. It would take like $250,000 a year, I'd say, right? If I had to give up everything and stuff like that. And Brad's ears are perking up saying, like, no.
Well, if you said to me, either live in a smaller house and be able to take care of baby Hazel and not have her in daycare, or live in, a bigger house and have to work full time, have to send Hazel to daycare, barely see her, I'd rather live in the smaller house, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, for sure. Our quality of life is great because it's not everything is about money. I'm a capitalist to my core. I take the take it on the chin all the time for defending free markets against statism and government and taxes and regulations. But the fact of the matter is that there are things more important than money. You can't take it with you, right? And we were talking too about speaking of death. You die twice in this life.
Oh, yeah.
And you die once is your physical death, and twice is the last time someone ever speaks your name.
Yes.
So for me, I want to live a life that as long as possible, it's not, I'll never be Genghis Khan or Alexander the Great.
Mother Teresa.
Right. No, Mother's like those names will live on much longer perhaps. But I think the goal of life in some ways is to almost have the closest thing to eternal life for me is to have your name spoken at some point by those who loved you, because so many people loved you, because you had friends and family, because it wasn't about your bank balance. It was about the love that you had, that you shared with friends. Like at my mother's funeral, it was so full of people who loved her.
Absolutely.
And were there for her. And
people still talk about your mom all the time on Facebook, everywhere.
Her
talk
best
about
friends.
Memories of her. Yes.
When I was running for president in 2016, I went through South Carolina on the tour, and one of my mother's friends was so excited to see me. It was her best friend, and she just had to see me to talk about my mom.
Oh, she's in North Carolina?
South Carolina, yes. South Carolina. Cool. And it was a beautiful, beautiful event memory that I have right there in Charleston.
I'd like to meet her one day. Oh, yeah. That would be cool.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Steffi's interested in, of course, in family history and all that kind of stuff.
We got a whole box of family videos that we want to go through too.
Oh yeah,
we got to watch some good memories.
We got to get those
mom.
Out of the van there. So Amy J. Ease is here. She says she's at work, but she's just checking in to say hi. What's up, Amy?
Hi, Amy.
Good to see you. Can't wait to see you soon.
Yes, just a few weeks left. But now you know for sure that you are in the Fox News archives. So
there we go.
In 100 years from now, when they play, the 100-year anniversary of Fox and Friends, they'll play your clip right there.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sure that the future archives, the aliens when they come in are going to be like, oh yes, Austin Peterson talking about Doge, so good,
Yes.
so funny. Yes, Austin, take us to your leader. We got Justin Peterson here in 15 minutes.
Yay.
We definitely need more likes, just like Zambucas has said over there.
Zambucas.
That's
someone new.
Zambucas, yes. So if anybody out there uses ChatGPT, they've got this new feature where you can ask ChatGPT to describe you based on your history of chats with it.
It won't be very good at me because I don't talk to it about personal things.
Okay, well, mine, I talk to it about everything.
Yeah.
So do you want me to read to you what ChatGPT would describe me as?
Sure.
Austin Peterson, the mullet hawk of media.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's pretty descriptive. Yeah. That's a good one.
The tariff slang sensei. And America's most dangerous Liberty salesman.
Oh my goodness.
From launching the 4 Liberty Network into the stratosphere to filming gritty gunfights in Missouri jails for your Battle of Athens, Doc, you're a one-man freedom content machine.
Yeah. I like these little bits about you here. You could use those for commercials.
You juggle podcasting, product drops, and political op-eds with the same flair Thomas Jefferson would have had if he drank Jeffersonian Java and live streamed to Rumble. Yeah.
Nice. While writing, the Declaration of Independence. There you go.
You're a capitalist warlord with a heart, building businesses, mentoring new voices, and defending free markets with biting wit and brutal A/B tests. Whether it's mocking Bidenomics, memeing tariffs into oblivion, or building a shrine to Milton Friedman on a lunchbox, your content never misses. Also, proud husband, dad to little Hazel, espresso alchemist, and the only guy who could turn a radio merch deal into a libertarian media empire. Oh, yeah.
It knows you. It knows you. It really does.
That's some funny shit.
Wow. Aw, that's cool.
Speaking of espresso, man, I had my double shot today. I don't know, maybe that was the best thing to do necessarily right before because I was like, I was already jittery.
Maybe that's why you were shaking. It was the coffee.
It might have been.
It wasn't your nerves.
It might have been, but this is why this is a perfect story to segue here. Gen Z coffee lovers discover new way to combat insane Java prices with new home cafe trend.
What's a home cafe?
Home cafe. Well, they're making your own coffee at home, like with your espresso machine. You know what I'm saying?
With your hot barista wife
Exactly.
who's wearing nothing but an apron.
Okay, Stephanie, that's enough.
Okay.
It's out with that's for me. It's out with overpriced oat milk lattes and in with do-it-yourself coffee culture. Gen Z TikTokers are ditching the expensive morning coffee runs and instead transforming their kitchens into Starbucks is going to hate this. Transforming their kitchens into cozy custom coffee shops, complete with menus, pastries, and even barista uniforms.
Menus.
Yes.
That's so cute. I loved playing house as a child, and I still tell you till this day I feel like I'm playing house with you. It's so fun. And we basically have a little coffee cafe in our kitchen. Whenever we go to the grocery store, I always say, let's buy food as if we're eating from a restaurant at our house. Because then we will not miss going out at all. And when we go out, we get food poisoning and we end up really regretting things. So that's why we stay inside and we eat our own hot dogs and our own hamburgers.
That was kind of sad.
It's true.
TikToker Marlene Rodriguez official filmed her hands filling a to-go cup with a customized coffee, captioning her video, "Reminder to make your coffee at home tomorrow morning and save those $7."
Amen,
Agreed.
girl.
Agreed.
Buy your founding flavors.
Make it at home.
That's still cheaper than Starbucks.
It's just crazy that this story comes out and like it was just like 2 weeks ago I got my espresso machine and I've been making it at home.
We've been increasingly eating at home, I would say. Mm-hmm. As time goes on, we're continuing the trend of just eating at home more and more because we're realizing that going out is just not giving us the benefits that it used to.
You pay so much money. It's so expensive. And the food really isn't that great at a lot of these places.
Right.
It's like if you were going to go out, you better go out somewhere nice because otherwise, or like find yourself a dive bar that has great food.
Yeah. Somewhere where it's like this top chef that's world renowned, where you can't find his food anywhere. Like we were talking about, we don't just want a hamburger placed on a plate with no creativity. Show us that you can do something on the plate when we're at a restaurant.
Yeah, it's like anybody can make a hamburger, but it's like, what's your spin on it, right?
Yes.
And like, there's a lot of these like American steakhouses that are kind of chainy, and the chains, they really just don't put the effort in to try and do something special.
Right.
But also, they kind of know that a lot of Americans, like our palates, are not necessarily very refined.
Right.
And not to say that there aren't Americans who have refined palates, there certainly are. But like Andy Opperman and I, we bond over food. I mean, we're both,
absolutely.
we're both foodies.
You are,
and
yeah.
so when we talk about peppers and spices, and I have to order certain spices on Amazon so I can bring it out here and cook it over charcoals in a certain way. Because you have to drive 300 miles. You got to go to St. Louis, 150 miles to St. Louis, in order to get the kind of food that I have to make here at home, that Peruvian spice chicken, the charcoal roasted chicken,
which we're going to get in Washington, D.C. You can also travel there and get Peruvian chicken.
The APDC Liberty Tour, I'm so selfish.
It's actually cheaper than St. Louis.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe I'm not selfish, actually, because I feel like people just really do not respect the Amarillo and pepper. And so more Americans need to know about this. And when you pull out an Amarillo and pepper and you put that thing on a piece of chicken and then you marinate it and then you put it over charcoal, it's delicious. But you cannot get this Peruvian chicken outside of like the DC area. You cannot get other than in St. Louis at a really fancy restaurant, which is delicious.
Yeah.
But you take that yuca, you make a little sauce out of that Amarillo and pepper. You take the fried yuca, which is like French fries, but like crispier and creamier. It's so delicious. And so it has the texture and consistency almost of a French fry, but again, creamier, richer.
Yeah.
And it's that kind of tuber plant. And then you fry it and then you dip it in like the Amarillo sauce. Oh,
is that the sauce I like? That light sauce?
That yellow, the white
it
yellow
is
Amarillo
good.
sauce.
I like it.
So freaking good.
Yeah.
We're gonna have that when we're in DC. Yeah.
Yummy.
Yeah. So thank you very much to all of our friends who have been joining us live this morning and dropping Rumble rants. We appreciate you guys.
Thank you very much. Have we got to our bonus content yet with our rants?
Doesn't look like it. We are starting
boy.
to get up there, though. It looks like we've raised, I think we've raised around $20 or so towards the $75 goal, guys. Let's see, 5, 10, 15, $22. Yeah, to unlock the bonus content, we have to hit 75. My recommendation is that while we're on the commercial break, because it would be more fun to unlock the bonus content than to watch commercials.
Right.
That's the nice thing. When you unlock the bonus, the commercials go away. But if you go buy a couple of boxes of coffee right now in the shop, then we still have time for me to play the bonus content while we go get Justin on Zoom and bring him into the show.
Yeah.
So let's do it, guys. Unlock the bonus content.
Buy some coffee and tea for your home cafe.
Go to 4libertyshop.com. That's the number 4. libertyshop.com and check out our whole collection. A lot of people are loving the Milton Friedman collection of stuff that Stephanie has made. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch t-shirt.
I love economist quotes, and so I'm definitely going to make more of those when I have some time to do so, which is hard to find.
The shocking thing about the sales is that this Gulf of America beach towel has sold amazing.
Yes, the Gulf of America beach towel.
People love the Gulf of America. And speaking of DOGE, we have the best Department of Government Efficiency merch in the world. I laugh so hard. Look at that. That's Hillary Clinton in prison wearing a DOGE t-shirt. Who made that one?
Nice. BB.
It was BB.
Yes, Brad did.
Mouse pads, coasters, beanies if you want to look like Tim Pool. DOGE Space Voyager phone cases.
Guess who also was talking about you the other day? Tim Pool.
I know. Tim Pool.
Tim Pool was talking about your human events article on the show.
I guess he was kind of criticizing it, but here's the funny thing.
Was he? Okay,
well, he was.
I
think he was criticizing my point of view on it.
Oh.
But here's the thing. Everybody's kind of beating him up for it because,
Really?
he's kind of taking the counter vibe on this slang. Carmelo Anthony, this teenager, stabbed another teenager in the chest, killed him in Texas. It's a terrible tragedy.
Yeah.
And of course, they're trying to O.J. Simpson it, where it's like they're trying to say that he did it in self-defense, and he's raised like $400,000 for legal defenses And it has, of course it's about race, right? When it just should have never been.
Is it a white person with a black person?
It's a black teen who killed a white teenager.
Oh,
yeah.
I see.
Yeah, and I think for that reason, we need to have a conversation in this country about race relations, which is not going to be uncomfortable, which is not going to be comfortable for a lot of people. Everybody's going to get called a racist. Some of us really are. Most of us probably aren't. But at the end of the day, we have a problem in this country of ethnic crime. And if we don't figure out a way to converse about it, then we're never going to, you cannot allow an underclass to exist in a country and expect that you can have a free country with an underclass, especially one that is so oppositional to the majority. Minority rights have to be protected. Absolutely. Because the individual, of course, is the greatest minority, and Ayn Rand was right. Racism is an ugly form of collectivism.
Yeah.
But if we don't, in order to combat collectivism and racialism and to fight identity politics, you have to at least understand and speak the language of identity politics to the extent that if people are racist against whites, and they are in terms of diversity, equity, inclusion, and ESG, and if black people, I believe, are being conditioned to hate whites in the media and in academia,
to believe that they have this superiority,
right? And there's and that they have been bathed in ignorance of entitlements. And a community and a culture that keeps them isolated and insulated from the rest of the nation intellectually. But here's the thing. Yeah. They talk about oppression and oppressed culture. But here's the thing. It's like that picture of the little Chinese boy where he's got a boot on his face. And then when you back up a little bit, you can see he's holding the boot on his own face and he's smiling and laughing. Right? It's the Reverend Al Sharpton. It's the Jesse Jacksons. It's the Maxine Waters.
Yeah.
It's the leaders in the black community, with almost without exception, other than like Byron Donalds and so many other black conservatives, prominent black conservatives like Ben Carson. They absolutely are keeping their own community of people down, right? Yeah. It's not it, and then they get this external locus of control, and it happens with conspiracy theorists, it happens with people on the right, it happens with mostly the left, but you get anybody. Is that people want to blame other people for their problems because they don't believe that they're in charge of their own destinies.
Oh, of course. It's always easier to point your finger at someone else other than yourself.
The Jews are why I'm a loser.
Right. Well, honestly,
I
would be worried to be a Jewish student in school nowadays, growing up. I'd be worried about all the Gaza kids coming after me. Because I used to go to school with a lot of Muslim kids, and I wonder if nowadays the Muslims and the Jews in schools are fighting.
Yeah, no, it's we've got a beautiful show today, especially because Joni Rankin's here, Grizz Cheese, Mighty Megatron, Cecilia H, Quest Fanning, BB for Liberty, Relaxia McGroin, Mighty Megatron, Cecilia H, Joey Maddow, and Will Run Riot. What's up, guys? Are you guys ready to go?
Joey, hello. Because of you, we are continuing to post our podcast every single day. You are keeping us inspired to do so.
Joey Maddow, I want you to meet Justin Peterson. That's my brother. He's joining us live in a little bit less than 5. Going to go to a commercial break. We have unlocked the bonus content, guys. Don't forget, open your hearts, open your wallets, and donate to a poor Jewish settler and a sweet little Gentile who loved her. It's the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Oy vey! Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. All right, folks, buckle up. Because today's story is so ridiculous, so government-flavored stupid, it sounds like something I would have made up to get a laugh, and yet here we are. According to the latest report from DOGE, we now know that your tax dollars have been funding unemployment checks for babies, centenarians, and people who haven't even been born yet. That's right. Not only is our unemployment system broken, it's apparently open to applicants from other dimensions. Let's start with the babies. According to DOGE's findings, 28,000 children between the ages of 1 and 5 years old collected a whopping $254 million in unemployment benefits. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never met a 3-year-old with a resume. I've seen them try to eat Legos, I've watched them scream into the void because their juice cup was the wrong color, but filing a weekly jobless claim? That's a new one. Maybe we misunderstood. Maybe they weren't unemployed. They were just taking a sabbatical from the sandbox economy. Maybe they were laid off from their part-time gig stacking blocks. Or maybe, hear me out, the government has no functioning system of verification and just hands out checks like candy at a parade. And it's not just toddlers getting paid. They also found over 24,000 people over the age of 115 receiving benefits. That's $59 million going to folks who, let's face it, probably haven't worked since the Roosevelt administration, and I'm talking Teddy, not Franklin. To put this in perspective, the oldest living person in the United States is 114. So these 24,000 workers, yeah, dead, long dead. We're cutting unemployment checks to ghosts. Who's next? Dracula? You can't make this up. You couldn't sell this plot to Hollywood because it's too far-fetched. But somehow, it passed muster in a federal bureaucracy. And then, because this story needed to get weirder, DOGE uncovered 9,700 people with birth dates in the future who were claiming benefits. One individual, born in the year 2154, received $41,000 in unemployment. That's right, 129 years from now, someone is out here getting jobless benefits today. We are literally paying time travelers. And this wasn't one rogue glitch. This was nearly $70 million in payments to people who don't exist yet. The government saw an application from someone born after the fall of Western civilization and thought, yeah, that seems legit. According to DOGE's Elon Musk, you know, the richest man on earth and now apparently the guy running fraud investigations, he had to read the numbers multiple times before he believed it. I don't blame him. If I saw a claim from a toddler time traveler named Zayden born in 2154, I'd need a drink too. And these aren't isolated accidents. These are systemic failures. There were no guardrails, no age checks, no sanity checks, just wide open floodgates pouring your tax dollars into a black hole of incompetence. DOGE's investigation estimated $382 million in fraudulent claims just from this batch of insanity. But broader estimates suggest up to $400 billion in pandemic unemployment was stolen or misallocated. That's enough to buy every American toddler a pony, a trampoline, and a beachfront condo. Now, thankfully, everyone's new favorite government agency isn't just pointing fingers, they're cleaning house. But the absurdity of it all has struck a nerve. And that brings me to the best part of this mess. Our DOGE collection at forlibertyshop.com has been a runaway success. We took this disaster and turned it into liberty-fueled fashion. You've probably seen it by now, shirts, mugs, hats, and more, all featuring the Department of Government Efficiency seal, biting slogans, and cheeky designs that make fun of exactly this kind of idiocy. You know what feels good? Wearing one of our shirts while the bureaucrats who allowed babies to collect unemployment try to explain what went wrong. It's cathartic, it's stylish, and it's making a statement louder than any budget hearing ever will. People are buying it not just because it's funny, but because it's true, and because somewhere deep down they know that mockery is one of the most powerful weapons we have against big, bloated, bureaucratic nonsense. So if you haven't yet, go check it out. ForLibertyShop.com, that's where the movement lives. You'll find all the government efficiency gear, plus patriotic merch that actually speaks to who we are. Americans who are tired of being shaken down by people who can't even verify if their beneficiaries were born this century. In a world where babies are getting government checks and the dead are apparently reapplying for jobs, at least we can laugh. At least we can push back. And at least we can wear a shirt that says, I noticed, I care, and I'm not letting it slide. That's forlibertyshop.com. Join the movement. Wear your watchdog gear. And hey, if the government ever decides to send you a check for your unborn grandchild, maybe put it toward a hoodie.
Well, thanks to your fantastic leadership, this amazing cabinet, and the very talented DOGE team, I'm excited to announce that we anticipate savings in FY26 from reduction of waste and fraud by $150 billion. And I mean, and some of it is just absurd, like people getting unemployment insurance who haven't been born yet. I mean, I think anyone can appreciate whether, I mean, come on. That's just great.
Come on.
Those are the most unenthused people I've ever seen in my life.
You know, they're all probably sitting on the edge of their seats, right? Just glad to be there. Good morning, just like I was this morning on Fox News. Yeah. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. We're glad to have you here. Today's Freedom Family Friday. That means my smoking hot, redheaded, libertarian wife, Stephanie's here on set. How you doing, babe?
Oh, I'm doing good. Definitely hanging in there, keeping the eyes open.
You're looking very good and very nice for having been up since 2 a.m. Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. But she's not the only beautiful member of the AP for Liberty Freedom Family Friday show. Yes, it's a very special week. We've got the most beautiful, the tallest, most buffedest, rippedest, amazing Peterson there is. Justin Jurgen Peterson. Everybody say hello to Justin Peterson.
With
What's
a
up, Justin?
mustache.
It's mustache.
Mustache Sally.
What's up, brother? How you doing today?
I'm good. I'm also like you. I got up at like 4 something to get myself ready to watch your little show on television, on the TV.
Thank you for cutting the clip.
Yeah.
Everybody say thank you to Justin.
Thank you, Justin.
We
I
appreciate
tried
you.
to do it, but apparently you can't do screen capture on live television.
No, yeah, they don't let you for like copyright reasons and stuff. But big day in the Peterson household over here in Jefferson City, Missouri. Justin, you're in Boston, Mass this morning, back from vacation. So we're glad we can talk to you about that. The Department of Government Efficiency, Justin, thumbs up, thumbs down. Happy with Elon, what he's been doing in government so far. I mean, he's kind of like you. He's former lefty turned, red Republican now. It's kind of strange, right?
No, it's good. I think, we've all of us for a long time, if you really are honest with yourself, we've all of us, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, want to figure out, how to get some government efficiency going on here. So, the fact that people are now playing sides about this is just, to me, like, it's just so stupid. So I'm thrilled to see that. I just did my taxes. And I am going to get a $35 refund. Hey!
Wow, look at that.
Oh, nice.
Nice big check
good,
right
though,
there. What are you going to spend it on?
Back. You don't want to get any money back, really. You want to break even.
Right.
You don't want to give them a tax, an interest-free loan, right? When they give you a refund, that's basically money that you gave them and you didn't get any interest on it.
So that means you were pretty specific in terms of
your
spending. That's amazing.
That's really good.
Yeah.
You didn't overpay. You didn't give the federal government a loan, which is what we did, unfortunately. But it does mean we get a paycheck this year, so that's nice.
Yeah,
we appreciate that. But I think the thing about Elon that's so interesting is that the left hates him. Justin, they're committing vandalism, acts of terrorism against his dealerships. He's taking a huge risk, huge hit to his reputation, making enemies, and all so that he can do good. This really is what they call a sacrifice, right? This is what public service is supposed to be, is it not?
Yeah, and I think that my issue with, I keep thinking about the Bud Light. Remember the Bud Light controversy with Dylan Mulvaney, where Dylan Mulvaney was all in on Bud Light, and then like the conservatives boycotted it, right? So they went in and they just said, we're not going to buy it. We're not going to buy your product. The conservatives went that direction. They didn't burn down Bud Light factories. They didn't go into, pipe bomb the offices of Bud Light. That's the difference, I think, between the right and the left, in my opinion. The left, not only that, but they're burning private property. If that's your car, they're not, and you want to burn someone else's private property to get back at Elon Musk, like, that's not going to do anything. You're just literally destroying someone else's personal property. So I have a big issue with that. That's That's not Elon Musk's car, right? So I just think that, like I said, anything that the left does is fine, even up to violence and murder. It's fine. Look at what's going on with this high school kid that got stabbed. It's like, here's a perfect example. Like, if you murder someone, it's okay, because if you push a leftist cause, if you push leftism, then it's okay that you killed someone. It's fine. History is going to use you for its own purposes, and then it's going to throw you away.
I like the meme of what's it, Nancy Kerrigan and Tanya Harding.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
And Tanya Harding is looking at Nancy Kerrigan, looking like she's about to break her knees.
Yeah.
And Tanya Harding is it says liberals, and then it says liberals who own Teslas, and it's the joke is that it's liberals who are attacking other liberals, because who do you think owns the majority of electric cars? There aren't a lot of electric cars out in redneck country where I live. The people who drive the electric cars out here are liberals, so it's liberals attacking liberals, Justin, and sometimes it's pregnant women.
Oh yes. Well, I see today on I think it was on X, 35% of educated white women are anti-Trump. So like, it was a huge number. And the number of educated men that were anti-Trump was like 3%, or 2%. It was really not super, super high. But then you looked at uneducated men, and it was like approval of Trump was like way up, So yeah, there is something in the water. There's something in the water.
It's the fluoride, Justin. It's the fluoride.
There's a lot of things being added to the water. We've got the birth control pills in the water, affecting our hormones. I bet you anything Ozempic is starting to come into the water.
I don't like them putting chemicals in the water, turning the frickin' frogs gay. No. Yes. It's hard out here for a free thinker. It's hard out here for a free thinker, Justin.
You'll never be as alone in your life thinking for yourself.
Yeah.
Oh, you just tweeted about that, didn't you, Austin?
Yeah, because
about how you're alone when you really think for yourself.
Yeah, because the thing is that there's all this tribal signaling that goes on, whether it's tariffs or whether it's the debate between Dave Smith and Douglas Murray on Joe Rogan yesterday. It's everybody's they get into their tribes, and they've decided that whatever they believed already, that whatever the new evidence is that comes out, or the new facts that emerge, that it only confirms everything that they've already believed. It's like that song from the Book of Mormon. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, Justin, where he's seeing the young Mormon, not prophet yet, but he's a missionary. And he goes to Botswana, and he runs into a tribal chief, and he's terrified of running into the tribal chief, but he wants to testify to him, and he goes in and he sings a song of his faith and his deep, profound desire to bring the faith of Jesus Christ to this tribe. And the song is, I believe that God made every one of us. I believe that Joseph Smith, that the Garden of Eden is in Jackson County, Missouri. I am a Mormon, and gosh darn it, a Mormon just believes, right?
There you go, yes, yes.
And so, I mean, what people's beliefs can get in the way of learning new things because nobody wants to have to confront the fact that, maybe hot drinks are okay. I mean, have you seen the industry for the soda pop industry out in Utah, Justin? How they don't drink coffee, but they take these soda drinks and they turn them into like frappes, and the Mormons are all addicted to these sugary sodas. It creates whole industries. It's a soda pop industry out there.
Weren't they doing soaking for a while?
Justin, no, Justin, stop it.
Oh,
no.
You told me what that was, right?
I did. Don't say it on air.
I forgot what it was.
Don't say it, Stephanie. Don't say it.
Okay. Yeah.
Just don't say it. Okay.
It's like the spirit and the letter of the law. Like, this is in Judaism too, where like they have really strict regulations about what they can and can't do on the Sabbath.
Yeah.
But, like, there are whole cottage industries that have like come up for like figuring out ways around those laws. So, like, there's certain, I think it's really severely conservative Judaism that has the law where they don't even like push buttons. Like, you can't. Operate elevators,
Stephanie knows all about this. Yes. But they have all these inventions to get around the pushing of buttons.
Right. And there's some sort of a wiring system around certain Jewish cities. They have it where I used to live, where you're allowed to push strollers.
Right, because
only within the confines of this certain boundary area.
Yes, because God makes exceptions. So,
and then you can only use a certain phone to contact the special emergency people on the Sabbath.
No, but wait. Yes. I don't want to turn this into a bash religion fest because
no. But it's true.
But I want to say is that this applies to cult thinking for people who are mindless automatons for they're endless water carriers for either an ideology or a person themselves, because like I posted this morning, that that was kind of me subtweeting the Dave Smith Douglas Murray debate, is that my ideology goes so far until it runs up into the face of reality. Right. And I care more about what is true more than I care about being right. But I don't think that is the case for most people. I don't think most people care about that. I don't think that's their priorities.
And I'll say this. When you are on this sort of tribalism thing and you're picking a side, how do you error correct? I don't think you can. It's very difficult to error correct when you have a group think mind mentality, because if you get new information or something new comes out, it really throws you off your axis and you can't readjust in light of new information. So I think being any kind of like dogma, again, also, I've been preaching this for years, but dogma, if you're just totally in on dogma, there's no way to error correct in dogma, right? There's just no way to do it, because, the only way you can preserve dogma in a group of people is to excommunicate the wrong thinker, right? The person who isn't thinking right is a threat to the group, because just like, look at Anna Kasparian, okay? When she came out and was making more, you could say middle of the road, moderate, maybe even right-wing talking points, they ate her alive, right? The left ate her alive because she went off the ranch and she wasn't going to just do the talking points. And I'm like, the respect that I had for her in doing that and being able to have the courage to say, no, I have new information. I'm going to say something new. Those are the kind of people that have those values. Those are the people I want to listen to and talk to.
Right. And every ideology has high priests, right? And enforcers and Praetorian guards. It's like the Pharisees with Jesus, right? They were the ones who, they didn't like Jesus because, he came along and wanted to overturn the old order. And he was a gadfly. He was a troublemaker and a pot stirrer and said things that went against the old Jewish law. And I think about
and they were all about the Jewish law.
Yeah,
that's like the whole modus operandi of the Pharisees was every dot and tittle of the law. Everything in the law had to be obeyed. And Jesus was like, y'all are missing, again, you're missing the spirit of the law, right? It's like the letter of the law and the spirit of the law. And that's what Jesus was doing. He was coming to say, you're missing it. You're missing the message here. And Jesus wasn't some outsider. He was Jewish.
Yeah, exactly. And don't say that to the white nationalists. They're out there trying to say, actually, no, he became not a Jew when he became a Christian. But it's also strange. But there's people. But that's the thing, is that people will twist themselves up in knots, and they will say ridiculous things, right? Just this, like the arguments about tariffs in this last week. It was incredible to watch people whipsaw, seesaw, back and forth with their beliefs one day change from one day to the next, because they cannot, and I understand some people are being paid to do this. There's some grifting going on. And, if you're hired to work for someone and, you kind of have to be the Kool-Aid drinker to a certain extent. You work for a corporation, you take the king's coin, you sing the king's song. But imagine being an unpaid sycophant, right? Imagine being the type of person who carries water for someone when they're wrong, instead of being able to question the leader. That's what really makes America great. That's what makes us differentiates Trump from Xi Jinping. You cannot make a picture of Xi Jinping, of Winnie the Pooh. You cannot make him look like Winnie the Pooh. You can't draw a picture of the Prophet Muhammad, right? You can't. The people who place the restrictions of the law of do what we say or be damned, were punished or thrown off the roof of a building. They know that is the ideology of the Taliban, right? And that is in opposition to the ideas of liberalism, of Western individualism. But you even see this with individualists, Justin, and I can attest. I love Ayn Rand. I mean, freaking love Ayn Rand. I don't worship Ayn Rand, but there are some people who basically do worship Ayn Rand. And anytime that you contradict anything that she has to say, they are out there as enforcers, the high priests, the Pharisees, ready to, tell you why you're wrong. And they have people who like own think tanks and like they're paid professionally to do this, right? So they're enforcers of that moral code, right? And it's quite tiresome. And as I get older and older, as much as I consider myself to be a libertarian, I find myself to be just much less orthodox in my thinking and much more heterodox. I think it's healthy for my brain, but it's bad for my social life.
Yeah, I agree. No, I find that in many cases socially, it's very difficult to have conversations with people because what we're asking people to do is think on a much higher level, right? A cognitive level. You're asking people to get into a higher way of thinking about things. And to decouple emotionalism from thought, right? Which is very difficult for people. Emotional reasoning is a real thing, right? But it's also a distortion. It's a cognitive distortion. In cognitive behavioral therapy, emotional reasoning is something that you have to watch out for. It's like, well, I feel this way, so it must be true, right? And it's like, no, that's not how reason works. Just because you feel something doesn't make it true. But no, it does. It makes you a very solitary person. But here's what I have found. I'll speak from my own experience. When I'm able to sit with people in a one-on-one situation and have a good, honest conversation, I'm able to have a really healthy, good debate about things. Social media and the online keyboard warrior thing has made us all into like Neanderthals. But when you're really able to get someone in a room, I've had really thoughtful conversations with friends that are on the left about different things going on, and we agree on a lot of things. And so, I think it's sort of the way out of tribalism is you have to, like you said, in a way, you have to be individualistic and you have to work and talk to people on a one-on-one basis. There was that guy, oh no, and I'm going to forget his name. The black gentleman who was a musician who would go around and would sit down with members of the KKK and like basically win them over, right? He would be like, look, I'm a black guy, what's your problem, and would eventually collect these KKK guys' robes. So like he would give them their robes after like they basically deconverted out of their white supremacist
Daryl
ideas. Daryl Davis, that's right.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
But how did he do that? He didn't do it by talking to groups per se. He did it by sitting down one-on-one with people individually. And I think that's really one solid way to make change with people, because I've had the most incredible conversations with people about stuff going on, and I've been able to express my fears and concerns about things that are going on. People come into my studio and you realize I live in Massachusetts, so everybody comes in and I'm like, how you doing today? And a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, I'm doing okay, but everything is just really bad right now.
Yeah.
And I kind of have to talk them down off the ledge, and just be like, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. But I'm gonna be honest, I think a lot of the people on the left are terrified, and they're being terrified by the media.
100%.
These people they're so horrified and scared by the media. They don't know up from down. They can't. When you're terrified, you can't think, Austin. You can't think when you're scared because you're going into survival mode. And so your whole thing is like, it's terrible, we've got to burn it down. But to your point about control, if we weren't a free nation, the mass demonstrations that were done this past week in America, where lots of people showed up, that would never happen in a totalitarian regime. People would not be, those would be suppressed.
Speaking of, Justin, that's a perfect segue to our next topic. I've got a clip. Take a listen.
China retaliated today by reducing the number of American films that can be shown there. What's your reaction to them now targeting cultural exports from the United States?
I think I've heard of worse things.
So
we don't want our movies in China.
China says no more Hollywood, no more movies. President Trump says, I've heard of worse things. Okay, true. Hollywood is definitely in a bad place right now. But in terms of China and the trade war, there's a larger discussion here. Justin, what's your take on it?
Well, I mean, wasn't China the one that wiped the black guy off of the Star Wars posters?
Yeah. Yeah. Did you know this?
We're not.
Stephanie? Tell Stephanie that story about the Star Wars poster.
Yeah. So the Star Wars poster came out. John Boyega, was that his name? Am I getting his name right?
He
John
played
Boyega,
Finn.
I think is his name. Was the actor that was. Yeah, he was in that Star Wars movie, and when the movie went to China, they and he had a prominent,
he was a lead
place on the movie poster. Yeah, he was a lead in a prominent role in the movie, and he's on the movie, and he was on the poster. And when they sent the movie to China, they completely wiped him off of the poster. Like they did not want a black man on that poster. And I'm
so they just photoshopped him out?
Aren't you?
They just reduced him. Yeah. They made him small because he was in the original.
They made him small.
Yeah, I don't know if he was even on it, but I think they made him small. But he was the big character on it. But for the Chinese, but Hollywood did that for China. There is a corruption in Hollywood that is in order to cater to the Chinese market, that they change Hollywood movies so that they don't upset the Chinese censors. They did this with Red Dawn because it was supposed to be a remake. They shouldn't have remade a perfect movie anyway. The Patrick Swayze 1980s is the official definitive version when Soviets invade the United States. Wolverines, right? Yeah. But they made it so that was China, because in order for the modern day, who could land troops in the United States? China. But they had to change it because, of course, China didn't want to be a bad guy. We're mowing down Chinese in a movie. And so the Chinese put some pressure and they changed it to North Koreans, as if the North Koreans could land soldiers in the United States. It would be really difficult for North Korea to land troops in Colorado.
Good thing our movies aren't imported into North Korea.
But it does show a problem, though, Justin. And if we're having a conversation about tariffs, which I'm generally not in favor of, I do think that there is a malign influence that comes from this communist regime in the United States. And they certainly do, and this is a national offense, they attack our infrastructure, cyber attacks. I saw my Senator Eric Schmidt posting about that this morning. But in terms of the cultural exchange between China and the United States, things have not been the same since World War II with us because of Chairman Mao. And the problem is that all China is a North Korea that succeeded.
That's right.
That's what it is.
And they succeeded because they decided, hey, we'll give capitalism a try.
Right.
Right.
What gets me is if in fact China is funding the Hollywood machine, which in many ways we see that. Did you remember that when I'm terrible with names this morning. The big bodybuilder wrestling guy who came on and apologized to China in Chinese because he made
John
some remark
Cena.
or something. John Cena, that whole thing, I mean, China has Hollywood by the balls. And how much of this Snow White movie, okay, I'm going to sound like a conspiracy theorist, how much of that Snow White movie was funded by China? Because that whole message of that film was absolutely communist propaganda. I mean, that movie was rife with communist propaganda. And I was like, only a communist could pay for this. So who's funding this multi-million dollar project?
Yep.
Right?
Will Run Riot over in the chat says, a Mary Sue that no one asked for. Speaking of Mary Sue and Hollywood,
there's more news.
I'll be in Hollywood, California next month for the premiere of my new film, Killing Mary Sue.
That's right.
Starring the leader of the Cobra Kai dojo himself, one of my personal heroes, Martin Cove.
Nice.
Fear does not exist in this dojo, does it? No, sensei. Bow to your sensei. Right? You're the best around. Karate Kids, but if you love, I know a lot of people, Brad was like, he was not all about the Karate Kid life, I understand, he was not an 80s baby, but he did love Clerks, Jay and Silent Bob, and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, so Jason Mewes is also in the movie.
Nice.
I have a teeny little voiceover role in one scene, so they invited me out for the premiere. I'll be there a month from now, and if I'm lucky while I'm there, I'll make some connections, hopefully, and it will help us, of course, to grow the For Liberty Network. But you can guarantee that happening. I'm probably going to use my airplane flight points, but if you want to help a poor,
it's not like they're paying you to come out there.
No. So if you want to help a poor boy from Peculiar make it big in Hollywood and make Hollywood libertarian again, then why don't you go to forlibertyshop.com. Help support our bonus content program by unlocking the bonus content, which we did unlock, but if you drop Rumble Rants, then it all goes into that same till. So thank you for supporting us. The Freedom Family Friday shows will continue because of the financial support from listeners like you. It's not publicly funded television. No, it's not Big Bird calling you a racist. It's Austin, it's Justin, it's Stephanie on the For Liberty Network because we are the media now, as Elon Musk has said. If you haven't already, click the like button and drop a Rumble Rant. Click the follow button if you're new and come back and join us Mondays through Fridays, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. We're killing the game. Austin, Stephanie, and Justin. Mary Sue, that's actually a really good topic because you brought up Snow White, right? The thing is that storytelling has taken a back seat to the message. That's really been the problem, isn't it, Justin? Is that there's the message.
Yeah, I watched a wonderful YouTube video of a gal who is a cultural historian, and she is really into fairy tales. That's like the area of expertise that she has. And she was just going off about Snow White, about how bad it was, and it was really great to see. But the idea is, in my opinion, the left can't trust people to make their own decisions about a work of art. They have to tell people what to think about it. And so that's what the message is. They sort of hit you over the head with the message because I guess they think that we're all too stupid to walk away from a piece of art and have our own opinions about something or have a takeaway on something and say, well, I think it means this or I think it means that. I'll give you a case in point. Right now in Boston, they've done a revival for the 80th anniversary of the musical Carousel by Rodgers and Hammerstein. So 80 years ago this year, the Rodgers and Hammerstein's Carousel premiered in Boston, Massachusetts, before it went on to New York City. So they decided the Boston Lyric Opera was going to mount this production. So what did they do? They set it in some Far Eastern European nation, in some dilapidated carousel amusement park. And it's very dystopian. You can't really tell what's going on. The costumes are very, avant-garde, very out there. And again, you look at that and I think it's a middle finger, right? It's a middle finger not only to Rodgers and Hammerstein, but it's a middle finger to the American audience here who is going to see the great American musical theater. And we want to see, for the 80th anniversary of Rodgers and Hammerstein, can't we respect the piece enough to have it shown and demonstrated as the composers and the librettist intended it to be seen? No, we have to hit you with a message. And so what it does is it assumes that we, the rubes, right, we don't have any idea about art or culture or beauty or goodness. No. We need a bureaucratic class of people, educated people, to tell us how to think about the arts or how to think about music or stories. So that's my big beef with all of this. It's like, and no one is just putting the middle finger back, and I'm going to say a cuss word because I get really mad about this, but nobody's cussing and going, fuck you for doing this, because who the fuck do you think you are? Like, do you literally think you're better than Rodgers and Hammerstein? Do you literally think you can do better than they did? No, they did a pretty good damned show with Carousel. So leave it alone. Like, we have to, does everything have to be infected by this mind virus? Does everything have to be, taken over? It's awful. It's and it makes me angry, and it makes me want to firebomb the theater.
Oh my God. Oh boy. He is not homicidal, folks. I'm gonna have to fill out a homicidal form on you, dude. Don't you do that?
We're having a great day over here on the Wake Up America show with the Peterson family. I'm Austin Peterson. This is Stephanie, my sweet smoking hot redheaded libertarian wifey. That's my brother Justin Peterson. You can see him over there in the chat. Drop a like for the Peterson brothers and for Stephanie. Little baby Hazel still sleeping.
We were thinking she was gonna wake up, but she always pleases mommy and daddy
she
on
makes
Fridays.
It all the way, she makes it all the way to
does.
9 a.m. So we do go until 9 a.m., but I don't want to lose any of you guys. I imagine that many of you who might have joined us for the first time today might have found us from our my Fox News appearance this morning. And if you are, then just so you know, this show is 5 days a week. Friday's a special day. Every day's kind of special, but Fridays are very special because we always like to goof around with family and talk about the news and hang out with friends over at the Rumble chat. So if you are in the Rumble chat right now, then click that follow button. That way you'll get a notification whenever we go live. So we are 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time. Set a little digital calendar appointment for yourself to wake up and watch us in the mornings to start your day the American way with the Wake Up America show, the Peterson family on Freedom Family Fridays, not just one day, but 5 days of fun. Thank you for all that you do, Justin and Stephanie, to help us to make this show and this network successful. We're talking this morning about cultural exchange between China and the United States. We're talking about the woke mind virus and how it poisons everything that it touches. I don't know if did you happen to see any of the debate between Douglas Murray and Dave Smith, Justin? Any of the discussion? I don't know.
But I did see a clip this morning of Douglas Murray talking about October 7th and his reaction to what he thought about everything, and I thought that was pretty good. But I didn't see it. Was it any good? I know Dave
was great.
Has been weird lately.
Yeah, Dave he's kind of. I mean, the liberty movement in the United States has really gotten off on a really dark path in recent years, which is such a shame because we have this shining example in Argentina with Javier Milei to look forward to, where it's this positive movement. But there's a very black pill sort of undercurrent in the liberty movement in the United States specifically that I think in some ways Dave is an avatar, whether he knows he is or not, of. And so Douglas Murray and Dave sort of sparred. But what really became the conversation, and I think actually both made good points in certain ways, is this discussion about the death of experts. Because Douglas Murray was criticizing that Joe Rogan has these people on who are these conspiracy theorists or anti-Semites who are not fans of Israel's treatment of the Palestinians in Gaza. Okay, fair point. But in regards to the people that Joe Rogan speaks to or has speak to on this topic, they're not experts. And in some ways, I think he makes a good point because it does bring you political power to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. It is important. We are the media now. It does matter who you speak to and who you platform and who you decide to talk to. And anybody should be able to speak to anybody, right? We're not talking about censorship or banning, but in terms of in a sense, a self-appointed expert class, just because Anthony Fauci should be in jail and just because he was wrong about everything from COVID doesn't mean I go and I eat the horse paste, right? It doesn't mean that I go and I drink the methylene blue, right? Experts can be wrong without everyone else being right. But there's this problem that we have where people take podcasters, self-included, right? But check me before I wreck me. I'm willing to have my bullshit called out and please give me the facts, right? But most people, of course, don't want to argue facts. They just want to be a part of a tribe. And I think that the interesting conversation that they had was about expertise and what matters in terms of expertise. I teach students. The students don't teach me. When I teach karate, the white belts aren't leading the class. There's this thing called a voluntary hierarchy or an order, right? It's really hard for anyone to take a self-appointed expert seriously. Some people can learn on their own and become experts that are credible in their field. You don't have to be a certified, in my mind, even though you have to get a certification and pass the bar to be an attorney. I don't even think you should have to do that. I think anyone should be allowed to be an attorney, but that's how this country works, right? I don't even think doctors should have licenses, but that's another. I don't even think we should have driver's licenses, which is another funny story, but for another time.
You want to give cocaine to 5-year-olds?
But I don't. Yeah, but I don't want to give cocaine to 5-year-olds, right? That's forever why I'm not a libertarian. But I think you can see where I'm going with this one. Just because I don't think that you necessarily always have to trust the experts doesn't mean I'm going to go see the medicine man instead of the actual doctor. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, I would say yes to all of that. And also, expertise is wonderful in a high trust society We don't live anymore in a high trust society. Those days are over. We don't believe what people say anymore. So expertise is going to have to be a phenomenon, because if you don't trust people anymore, expertise doesn't matter. When you have a high trust society, expertise matters because we can trust you. We can't trust the media. We can't trust the pharmaceutical companies. We can't trust the corporations. And yet we're being told, well, listen to the experts, listen to the experts. I'm sorry, no. I mean, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, there's the great analogy about, like, if you want to buy a car, do you just go to the salesman and because he's the expert? Just listen to the salesman. He's the expert. He knows. He'll tell you. Or do you do your own research about buying a car? Do you go and look into models, and you look into makes, and you look into gas, and you look into, longevity of the car? Or do you just take the salesman's word for it because he's the expert? You see, I mean, it doesn't work all the time. Expertise does not work all the time. And there are people in my business who have advanced degrees, and I see some of their work, and I'm like, I can't believe that you got a doctorate. I mean, that's just shocking to me, because your application and your in the room skill is not very good. Or even that, you don't sing very well. This is the thing about singing. You sing.
He's starting to break up a little bit.
Is that us or him?
No, well, it looks like it is us, actually. Yeah, no, Justin's fine. Justin, if you can hear us, hold on just one moment. We're switching our...
Gosh, I'm thanking my lucky stars that this did not happen during your Fox News interview. I was so scared.
We got so lucky.
We were trying to get high-speed internet.
Yeah.
We've got it approved in our neighborhood.
Yep.
And it's literally a matter of weeks away, or so we were told.
Yep. We're going to get Justin back here, so just give us a brief little moment. We've still got 20 more minutes on the show.
Can they see us and hear us?
They can. We're back.
Oh, okay.
Justin's hanging out. He's going to be. He just sent him the invite, so he should be here.
That is the thing. Is how do you know when you can trust an expert? Because that expert that was on the Joe Rogan show, I trusted him very much.
You're talking about Douglas Murray?
Yes.
Yes.
He presented himself as very knowledgeable. He's been to Gaza. He knows what's going on there. I trust him.
Well, you got to be careful that you don't get taken in just by his mannerisms and his British accent, right?
The British accent also makes me think someone's smarter.
Well, and here's the thing. So I've known Dave Smith for years.
Yes.
Okay. Dave came to Missouri when I ran for president to endorse me and to support my campaign. And he was a big supporter of mine at that time. And I don't remember if he was involved in my Senate run or not at all. But we had a bit of a dust up about a year ago after October 7th, back and forth, because I have been reading Douglas Murray over the years and learning from him and reading his books and columns, because he does go to the front and report. And he makes a good point that Dave Smith you can, when you surround yourself with people who agree with you, like in the debate that Dave Smith and I did, Dave sort of mocked me for suggesting that he needed some neocon friends.
Yeah.
He mocked me for suggesting that he have friends with people who disagreed with him. And the fact that he mocked that, and then so many of Dave's followers mocked that, showed me that this is really the intellectual poison. This is the intellectual inbreeding, I call it, of the libertarian movement. Justin is back with us.
Hi.
Hey, Justin. But the and you could say retardation of the libertarian movement in the United States is in large part due to the intellectual inbreeding, because they already know what's right, they already know what's true, they have their high priests and their Pharisees and their acolytes and their apostles, and the word of God is the word of Ron Paul or Dave Smith or whoever is the at the time Mises and Hayek and Bastiat and all this stuff, right? But I mean, you become retarded because you cannot hear thoughts that disagree with you and then learn from them and maybe even incorporate them in your own argument. You can't even do that. You're certainly not going to change your mind about anything.
No.
But I mean, that is, to me, that I think is where Dave goes wrong, because he hasn't spent enough time not just reading and listening to people who disagree with him, but he's surrounded by sycophants and people who tell him what he wants to hear, and are doubling and tripling down on this, and in such a way so that I think Douglas Murray is correct to suggest that perhaps you should go to the front. Perhaps you should go before you talk about these things. If you're going to, certainly Douglas Murray is more of an expert than Dave Smith by experience, not through credentials, but through experience.
Right.
And that does matter, right? Like I don't have an accredited black belt, meaning I don't have a karate black belt from a school of martial arts that has an accreditation from the World Shotokan Federation or whatever it is, right? But I don't need it to teach it because I have experience, 20 years, multiple dojos, multiple styles.
Yeah.
I have hundreds, maybe thousands of hours of experience doing it. Right. Because they say those who can do, those who can't teach, but the best teachers are the ones who actually do it.
Yeah.
So I would rather take a class from someone who's done it rather than someone who just talks about it.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the difference there. And that is the argument around expertise that I think matters. But if anybody else wants to weigh in, I can shut up. Justin?
No, I think you're onto something, and I would also add this. In my profession, like with singing, there are oftentimes people who go off and they'll have really successful careers, right? And they have, they're in the top echelon of their profession, and by that success, of course, they receive a kind of a cultural status, right? Especially amongst younger people who see them as sort of the avatars of success. Now, the problem I have is this: when those people, those rich and successful singers, come in to teach other singers to sing, 9 times out of 10, they don't know what the hell they're talking about, right? They know that they have done what they've done on their own and they've made their own success, but they can't teach it to another person how to do it, because in the teaching of something requires the skill of understanding how to teach, which is itself a skill. There's a great quote about sailors knowing how to tie knots, right? Like sailors can go and tie all these different knots, because when they would work on ships and stuff, they know, oh, do this knot or do that knot. But they just tie the knots, right? It's a skill that they just sort of have. And if you sort of ask them how to do it, there might be some really good teachers on that ship who could say, oh yeah, sure, I'll show you how to tie this knot. And there might be other sailors that would be like, I just do it. I don't know how I do it. I just do it. And a lot of singers will say, when I sing, I just sing. I don't know what I'm really doing. I'm just doing it. But that's a recipe for disaster when you consider teaching someone else. So are they an expert? Yes, of performing and singing, but they're not an expert in teaching. Those skills do not overlap. Those are not overlapping skills. So, those who can't teach, not necessarily, because then you have people who are very good singers who are good teachers as well. So it's like, judging, I guess it's the fallacy of, the appeal to authority, right? Which is a fallacy. It's like, okay, well, just because someone's an authority, they're right all the time. And I'm like, no, that's not how it works. I just sent a video this morning to some friends of mine of a voice teacher in a lesson with a student, just teaching the most preposterous stuff. And I was just like, what is this nonsense? So even someone who's at a high level, maybe you've sung at the Metropolitan Opera, or maybe you've been on Broadway. That doesn't a priori mean that you are going to be a great teacher. Those skills are not the same.
Yeah.
They're just not.
And I think social media has really messed with experts too, because now there's this I want to be popular factor. So there's other motives that come into play, which I think that's what the expert on Joe Rogan talked about, was he knows that Dave Smith says what he says because he knows it's popular. He knows it's going to get him likes and retweets. Dave Smith was denying it completely, and Joe Rogan was also denying it completely. But I think that's what these experts are dealing with is, how can I get my voice out there and actually get people to like me?
Right. There's a popularity contest that's involved with all of this, unfortunately. Right. That prevents us
now
from...
money's associated with it.
Money too. You can't make money unless you are popular, unless you say what the crowd wants you to say.
You know what they call that? It's called audience capture. We see this a lot. Tim Pool's talked about this a lot. And he thinks, Tim Pool thinks that that's why a lot of these influencers have gone off into like the anti-Semitic conspiracy theory sort of crowd, is because what happened is when you post 10 things a day as an influencer, and one thing that you posted went viral and got you a lot of attention and interest, you're going to do that thing again. So all of a sudden, your audience starts to grow and grow and grow around that topic. And then pretty soon you have mixed martial artists who've been hit in the head, their entire career, and they're experts on Israel, Judaism, and the Middle East crisis, right? Because that's what they talk about all the time, at least self-appointed to some extent. So, I mean, like, there's not a good winnowing process, because I really think a lot of it has to do with the disconnect of the American people with the written word. The spoken word, fine. People love to jibber jabber. But how literate is this nation? Not very literate, as we've learned, right? The Department of Education. So it's kind of like this. I made a joke. It was a biting satire, but I was like, I said in regards to the tariffs, I was saying that that the president is supposed to represent everyone, not just the obvious victims of the public education system. Right. And so this is a way of saying that the people in the United States, right, we are to be prevented from a democracy because people who are unable to read are unable to think. Right. Anybody can talk. Anybody can use their voice and jabber their gums and say nothing all day long. But it takes something special and something different to put the pen to paper, the quill to ink, and to sit down and write out your thoughts or read the thoughts of another man and consider them. And I think that is really where the disconnect is. That's why I despise them taking cursive out of the schools. I hated that because I think it's a stab at literacy, because you can't even read the Declaration of Independence if you can't read in cursive.
You can't read important documents from our history now.
I understand it sounds like a boomer opinion or whatever you say, but I mean, at least boomers could read, and they did read, and they had books. And they watched television once on Friday night with their families and ate TV dinners in the 1950s and 60s. And they could afford a home on one income, and they had certain advantage over us. But here in the United States, it's without the literacy, it's like the person who can read has no advantage over those who don't. Was that Mark Twain? I can't remember. But without literacy, Justin, without economic literacy, without literature literacy, right? All of these battles that we're fighting, they're for naught. Mountains and mountains of tip-tap type away on screens. It matters nothing. Sound and furies, tempests and teapots. It matters nothing if we cannot read. Anyways,
this whole conversation is making me realize that I think the conversation about the definition of what an expert is, it's even more confusing, more complex. Because it's like, I can't define it. I don't know anymore. Because that expert on Joe Rogan, he was saying, well, if you can't debate another expert, then you're not an expert. Mm-hmm. Well, what if you're just not good at debating?
Yeah. Yeah, you could be an expert and be a terrible speaker. Like Jefferson. Yeah. Jefferson was not a great speaker. Mm-hmm. He was a great writer. Right. But he was not a great speaker.
Right. And it goes back to what Justin was talking about. You could be an expert at singing, but not an expert at teaching. So then are you really an expert? Right. So it's just so confusing and complicated on how to really define what is an expert, who can really talk about issues, who can't talk about issues. Honestly, I'm even more confused than when I started, to be quite honest.
Well, this is maybe a good place for us to wrap it up. Go ahead, Justin.
Oh, yeah. No, I was just going to say, even doctors do malpractice, right? And they have medical degrees. So, I mean, I used to, when I first moved to Boston here, I worked in the law offices for one of the local hospitals. And it was all handling the malpractice suits that came up against the doctors. So, I mean, I had case file after case file after case file after case file of these doctors who, either through bad bedside manner or through actual, malpractice, some of these patients died. So it's like, they were an expert, the guy that killed our mom was an expert, a pharmacist, right? Like, so, this is, again, this idea of expertise. It's like, better to have some cynicism about things. Yeah. Rather than to just blindly accept that someone's an expert on something.
Agreed. Agreed.
They were just an expert.
Yeah. Great conversation. Justin, anything you want to share with our audience before we let you go today on this beautiful, beautiful Friday morning?
My blog comes out at 10 o'clock this morning, my time, 9 o'clock Missouri time, justinpeterson.substack.com. Today's post is all about the importance of silence in learning how to sing, actually, because, I'm a singing teacher. That's what I do, and I am a singer. So it's going to be hitting in the airwaves at about 10 a.m. And then this weekend, I'm just going to be catching up on my Prince of Egypt, my 10 Commandments, and my Ben-Hur. I'm going to be watching some great Passover movies tonight. So, because Passover's this weekend.
There we go.
So
Put the lamb's blood on the lentil.
going.
Justin, we love you, brother. You're so brilliant, so
Love
smart.
you. You are an expert.
You are an expert on everything.
I am!
Peterson. Appreciate you, bro.
Yes.
Have a good one. Stephanie, that was such a good show.
That was a good show. It's been a good day.
Already.
And it's barely even 9 a.m., right?
I'm already tired.
I know, yeah. My brain is literally having like zaps.
Yeah, we're going to, and then we got a show tonight at 9 p.m., don't we? Yeah, we do. We're going to have to squeeze in a nap somehow today.
Yeah.
But if you want to hang
Baby
out,
Hazel's just about to wake up, so we can't nap now, probably.
join us at 9 p.m. tonight. We're going to be on the Freedom Arcade. It's just video games and hanging out and goofing around and having a good time. So if you want to join us here on Rumble. You'll have to be a Rumble Premium subscriber. If you're not already, don't worry. We'll explain it all to you tonight. But of course, this show is always free to watch publicly. So thanks, everybody. We appreciate you. Mighty Megatron, Luke Sacker, and Will Run Riot, T-Mill22, Fiery Waco, Joel Edamore, Mighty Megatron, YO Wildman, Luke Sacker, Zed the Head, Drew Van Runkle, Entropy Nomad, Joni Rankin, looking very good and very nice. Quest Fanning, he says, update the address on the itinerary for the APDC Liberty Tour to the correct chicken joint. I've got the wrong address. We'll fix it.
Oh, that's interesting.
L-Dubs, he says, I get what you're saying, Austin. I would push back. I don't need to be in a foreign nation to recognize unnecessary bloodshed. It's not in our interests. More in regards to Ukraine, he says. Yes, L-Dubs, thank you. Entropy, thank you. We appreciate it. Andy, thank you. Quest, thank you for all your donations. We appreciate you, Pineapples. Looking very good and very nice. We'll see you tonight at 9 p.m. on the Freedom Arcade.
Oh, sorry, I was just reading the comments. It looks like I'm looking at my phone. Camelia popped in the chat. She said, love you, Justin, and you guys, AP and Steffi. Love all the good things happening for you. Thank you, Camelia. I know you've been so busy doing all of your expert things as you're an expert of Missouri politics. So we're very, very proud of you as well. Austin and I were actually just talking about you recently and how much progress you've made.
It's amazing. We love you, CJ.
Yeah.
See you guys all tonight on the Wake Up America shows for Liberty Network, the Freedom Arcade. Bye-bye, guys.
Be free.
All right, folks, buckle up. Because today's story is so ridiculous, so government-flavored stupid, it sounds like something I would have made up to get a laugh, and yet here we are. According to the latest report from DOGE, we now know that your tax dollars have been funding unemployment checks for babies, centenarians, and people who haven't even been born yet. That's right. Not only is our unemployment system broken, it's apparently open to applicants from other dimensions. Let's start with the babies. According to DOGE's findings, 28,000 children between the ages of 1 and 5 years old collected a whopping $254 million in unemployment benefits. Now, I don't know about you, but I've never met a 3-year-old with a resume. I've seen them try to eat Legos, I've watched them scream into the void because their juice cup was the wrong color, but filing a weekly jobless claim? That's a new one. Maybe we misunderstood. Maybe they weren't unemployed. They were just taking a sabbatical from the sandbox economy. Maybe they were laid off from their part-time gig stacking blocks. Or maybe, hear me out, the government has no functioning system of verification and just hands out checks like candy at a parade. And it's not just toddlers getting paid. They also found over 24,000 people over the age of 115 receiving benefits. That's $59 million going to folks who, let's face it, probably haven't worked since the Roosevelt administration, and I'm talking Teddy, not Franklin. To put this in perspective, the oldest living person in the United States is 114. So these 24,000 workers, yeah, dead, long dead. We're cutting unemployment checks to ghosts. Who's next? Dracula? You can't make this up. You couldn't sell this plot to Hollywood because it's too far-fetched. But somehow, it passed muster in a federal bureaucracy. And then, because this story needed to get weirder, DOGE uncovered 9,700 people with birth dates in the future who were claiming benefits. One individual, born in the year 2154, received $41,000 in unemployment. That's right, 129 years from now, someone is out here getting jobless benefits today. We are literally paying time travelers. And this wasn't one rogue glitch. This was nearly $70 million in payments to people who don't exist yet. The government saw an application from someone born after the fall of Western civilization and thought, yeah, that seems legit. According to DOGE's Elon Musk, the richest man on earth and now apparently the guy running fraud investigations, he had to read the numbers multiple times before he believed it. I don't blame him. If I saw a claim from a toddler time traveler named Zayden born in 2154, I'd need a drink too. And these aren't isolated accidents. These are systemic failures. There were no guardrails, no age checks, no sanity checks, just wide open floodgates pouring your tax dollars into a black hole of incompetence. DOGE's investigation estimated $382 million in fraudulent claims just from this batch of insanity. But broader estimates suggest up to $400 billion in pandemic unemployment was stolen or misallocated. That's enough to buy every American toddler a pony, a trampoline, and a beachfront condo. Now, thankfully, everyone's new favorite government agency isn't just pointing fingers, they're cleaning house. But the absurdity of it all has struck a nerve. And that brings me to the best part of this mess. Our DOGE collection at forlibertyshop.com has been a runaway success. We took this disaster and turned it into liberty-fueled fashion. You've probably seen it by now: shirts, mugs, hats, and more, all featuring the Department of Government Efficiency seal, biting slogans, and cheeky designs that make fun of exactly this kind of idiocy. You know what feels good? Wearing one of our shirts while the bureaucrats who allowed babies to collect unemployment try to explain what went wrong. It's cathartic, it's stylish, and it's making a statement louder than any budget hearing ever will. People are buying it not just because it's funny, but because it's true, and because somewhere deep down they know that mockery is one of the most powerful weapons we have against big, bloated, bureaucratic nonsense. So if you haven't yet, go check it out. ForLibertyShop.com, that's where the movement lives. You'll find all the government efficiency gear, plus patriotic merch that actually speaks to who we are. Americans who are tired of being shaken down by people who can't even verify if their beneficiaries were born this century. In a world where babies are getting government checks and the dead are apparently reapplying for jobs, at least we can laugh. At least we can push back. And at least we can wear a shirt that says, I noticed, I care, and I'm not letting it slide. That's forlibertyshop.com. Join the movement, wear your watchdog gear, and hey, if the government ever decides to send you a check for your unborn grandchild, maybe put it toward a hoodie.